Hey, big things involving your money, and Drew Blazsik is in studio with our Faith in Finance feature. Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, there you go.
Talking about an encyclical, a John the 23rd encyclical this morning. Good morning, Drew.
Hey, good morning. How you guys doing?
Doing
Terrific.
great. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, so a couple things. I was doing a bit of research last night, and I came across some interesting dates because we talked about that assassination attempt last Saturday. Mm-hmm. So some people find it very interesting that it happened on July 13th, and that's one of the Marian apparitions of Fatima on July 13th. And not just that July 13th of when that I'll say those visions that happened, that had to do with the third apparition of Our Lady was on that date. Our Lady asked the children, again, to sacrifice themselves for sinners. It was a key apparition, as would be discovered later. Namely, during that day, children got revelations that later on would be called the Secret of Fatima. So that was the third secret of Fatima.
Oh, my goodness, was given
that
on
everybody
July
wants to know.
13th.
So, and kind of reverse in time, John Paul II, he was almost assassinated, JP2, on May 13th, which was the first apparition. And this has to do with, kind of controversial with the third secret of Fatima, but it talks about the annihilation of nations, it talks about world leaders, it talks about that kind of stuff. So it's kind of an important date that a lot of people are connecting. Also, there is some interesting thing on July 13th. And we always talk about the encyclicals. We talk about communism, and that's really what the encyclicals are attacking. On July 13th, 1949, the Vatican released a decree against communism to the public and excommunicated all communist Catholics around the world.
My goodness.
And that was lifted from canon law in 1983. So from 1949 to 83, all Catholics who participated, corroborated with communists were excommunicated.
Wow. But lifted. I wonder.
I'd forgotten.
I don't know. I saw that. I didn't go too much into it. I thought that was kind of interesting.
But put in place on July 13th, 1949, or read that day.
Yep.
That's
when
interesting.
So that's kind of an interesting thing.
This is kind of a different today in history.
Yeah.
We're going back to the 13th. Yeah.
So we talked about the different encyclicals, Rerum Novarum, Quadragesimo Anno, and then the third one that really talks about economics, which is Mater et Magistra, I think it's called, by 1961 by Pope John the 23rd.
Oh, John the 23rd.
I don't know if I have all the time to go into it, but what that really kind of hits on is workers' rights, and it talks about the responsibilities of wealthy nations. And again, it condemns communism. It talks about that. It really promotes the right of workers to have freedom to choose what they want. And what's really interesting about it, I probably won't have time to go into the quotes right now, but the wealthy nations, I think this is a very interesting thing about economics, Catholic economics here, is that it asks for the excess of food and resources would help out the poor nations. So what does that mean? It means that after your people are taken care of, if you have more food, you should help out the poor, right? It doesn't say take away from your people, right? And just like a small community, anytime with economics, we don't want people to use the land to make the profits to sell it overseas when your people are starving. Your responsibility is always to the people in your community. Then the excess of what you have earned, then you give to the poor. And that's really what it tries to promote, I would say, in this encyclical. A couple quotes just real quick. A man's work is his sole means of livelihood. Its remuneration, therefore, cannot be made to depend on the state of the market. So what does that mean? That it cannot be dependent on if someone who owns property and resources cannot determine by the market and say, I'm going to make a profit and sell it to another land to make large profits when the people in your own hometown
could benefit. Right.
You have to give it to the people in that area. And then it goes on and it really talks about the responsibility. And it really goes in later on with what business owners should help out their workers with education and get more skills because we're more in the technological advancement.
Hey, and
It's
you have
kinda
to admit,
interesting.
miracles are still happening. Teamsters at the Republican National Convention. I know.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit crazy. All this stuff is mixing together. But thank you very much, Drew. And
Yeah,
the
thanks, Drew.
protection of the worker, the individual.
And Drew, you're on vacation next week,
I am. Yes.
so we won't have you next Friday.
I won't be here next Friday.
He'll be out spending
I'll
money.
call you. I'll have some questions. I'll have some questions.
Maybe I'll call
for
in.
you. Yeah.
Maybe I'll call
There
in.
you go. All right. Drew Blazsik from Adrian College, thank you so much for your expertise this morning, as always. We'll be right back. More Morning Offering with Ron and Dave straight ahead. Thank you for waking up with us.